Hello, greetings, salutations, all of that other fun stuff. And thanks for joining us for this latest episode of Making Sales Social Live, coming to you from the Social Sales Link virtual studios and brought to you by AskSSL.ai. If you're watching us live right now, the QR code will point you directly there. I'm Bob Woods. Stan Robinson Jr. is off today. I'm joined though by Bryn Tillman. How you doing, Bryn?
Hello, my friend. I am doing well.
Good. Excellent. Always glad to hear that. So, cold calling in sales. It's a topic that always brings out a lot of, well, let's just say feelings for those who are discussing it. Some love it. Others, not so much. And obviously some fall in between. So if you're struggling with cold calling, though, there's an alternative: permission based messaging. It eliminates the pushiness that's kind of seen with by some with cold calling. It does ensure more sales conversations with higher quality prospects. Now, I personally know people who use cold calling, are successful with it, and as a result, love doing it. And that's fine. Would never talk against it for those people. Here's the thing though: permission based messaging can actually complement cold calling, even if cold calling is working for you. And in fact, we did a study on cold outreach versus based messaging, rather, on LinkedIn and got some interesting results. I remember this study, Brandon, and I know that you do too, because you talk a lot about it. And I think it's actually really good to bring up at this point.
Yeah. So we actually did this during COVID. So it's older now.
Yeah, it's a
And
little older.
maybe we should think about running it again. I'd be curious. But we sent 100 first degree connections a link to really great content. And we did it through Smart Links, which is a sales navigator, incredible tool. And 19 people of the 100 clicked through. And Bob and I were like, that's pretty awesome to get 19% click through rate. And then we did another 100 randomly where we asked permission to send the link. And of those folks, 68 asked for the link and 59 clicked through. So here's what this looked like. Bob, we recently posted a blog on XYZ topic. And as someone who runs a software product and is in charge of chief product officer, I thought you might get some value from X, Y, and Z. Here are some of the takeaways. If you're interested, let me know. I'm happy to send you a link. So here's what we think happens. And we can't completely, this is our theory on why. Number one, if we send the link, they have it. They can come back to it and click through later. So they may be interested, but not now. And then they'll forget anyway and never click through. But they have it. So there's no worry about whether or not they can access that. When we ask permission, I think we create three things. Number one, we are honoring their inbox.
Mhm.
People do feel like if there is an automatic link sent, that it's probably spam.
Right.
Right? So when we ask permission, I truly, from the depths of my soul, believe that we are honoring their inbox, and they don't feel like, by asking if they're interested, they don't feel spammed. Number two, there's this FOMO. If I don't ask for it, I'm never going to get it. So I might as well say, sure, send it my way. Or, yeah, I'd be interested in learning more. So that's number two. Number three, and I think, this is really important when we think about sending content or not sending content, is it helps us to qualify in or out people that have interest in that content. If
Mhm.
we and it will start a conversation with them, right? If they say yes or no, either answer is great. Either answer, or no answer on that also means it's not a priority. When you send the link, you never know if it's a priority or if it's interesting to them. So I really believe that the permission based prospecting on all accounts has a huge impact. I want to go down the route. I'll push it. I'll toss it back to you, Bob. But I also want to go permission based in all of our outreach, in our client referrals, in our networking partners. How do we switch from "Can you introduce me
Yeah.
to being permission based? But I'll throw it back to you, and then throw it back to me when you're ready.
Yeah, yeah, so actually, that kind of dovetails perfectly into, what it takes for permission-based messaging, permission-based sales, whatever you wanna call
Yeah.
it. It takes 3 things, we think, uh, mindset, tactics, and a rejection of automation, and everything that Bryn just said, I think specifically speaks to mindset.
Mhm.
So, because you're shifting your approach from immediate solutions, getting that immediate hit off of things, which you may or may not get, because again, you don't know if it's good timing for them, to providing genuine value.
Mhm.
So, obviously, you shouldn't call them a cold call on LinkedIn. People still do it. You really shouldn't do it. You have to detach what they're worth to you, meaning the prospect, and embrace what you can offer them, how you can be of service
Mhm.
to them. And this again comes from mindset. And part of that mindset is the service that you provide to them, they may not necessarily need right now. They may need it down the road. They probably will need it down the road, but you just may not be hitting them at directly the right time. So gaining that permission to have that messaging with them that then sparks a conversation that, hopefully if things go right, you'll end up selling because we are here to sell as well.
Yeah.
Don't ever forget that. But wouldn't you rather talk to someone who is interested and who you've already provided value to because you had value to give to them rather than being the and I always go to this, and it's a little unfair, I realize it, but yet when people think of cold calling, this is what they think of. The finger snap it, "Hey, let's make a deal," da, 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 that type of person. I personally don't wanna be that person. I think a lot of people out there don't wanna be that
You
person.
also don't want
That's
to buy
why I
from that
like
person.
Yeah, right, yeah, exactly,
Like it's
exactly.
icky. So if I could kind of work off of that, because I think that this is really important, right? So obviously there's two sides to this. The permission based is really important, but the value that you're sending is really important.
Mhm,
But here is what I see happening. The cold calling is fast prospecting, right? I
mm.
want to get
Numbers.
number game, right? I want to get to as many people as possible. And when you have that fast prospecting mindset, we want to send the link and then hope and pray people click through. When it comes to LinkedIn, I am a bigger fan of the slower prospecting, pacing it. I'd rather you bring value and not be seen as spamming and be seen as a resource and bringing value. And so this goes to we need to slow down our outreach to speed up the outcome. So while it may be two steps instead of one, where you could send 100 people the link, but if you're doing two steps, you send 100 people permission to get the link and only 69 actually get the link, there's 69 that asked for it. And of the 69, the fact that 58 of them actually clicked through, now we've got, I think, more qualified prospects, right? And exactly what Bob's saying. Maybe they don't need it now. Maybe they won't ask for it. But the people that do are the ones that we really want to start this conversation with. So yeah, that permission based is huge across the charts. So if I can just kind of go into the next concept,
Yeah, absolutely.
which is permission. So we teach deeply that the huge value inside of LinkedIn is the ability to search and filter your connections. So I can I can map out my social proximity to stakeholders, people that I want to have conversations with. So here is unfortunately what so many people do. And I get these all the time. Hey, Bryn, I see you're connected to Joe. Can you make an introduction? And I may not even remember Joe. I may not even remember the person that's asking me for the introduction. And that is not, even though you think I'm asking you a favor, that's not permission based.
Mm-hmm.
So, how do we slow this down? Hey, Bob, I'm not sure if you recall, but we connected back in 1873. No, but you can look, by the way, and see what date you connected with someone on LinkedIn. So if you're not sure how you remember them, or you're not sure when you connected, if you're sending notes, you'll know in your messaging. But you can look at contact information and go to the bottom, you can see the date. So I don't know what our date is, but it was a really, really, really long time ago. So, Bob, I'm not sure if you recall, but we connected back in 2012. I happen to notice that you are connected to a couple of people that I'm looking to get in front of. Could I run these names by you and get your insights before I reach out? So, what did I do? Right. The first thing is, I'm not sure if you recall, I'm giving you permission to not remember me.
Mm-hmm.
That's huge, right? Because immediately that takes the pressure off of going, who the heck is this person? To, oh, it's okay that I don't remember this person. So that comes off. I'm not sure if you recall, but we connected. Now, sometimes I will say one of the ways I use LinkedIn is X, Y, and Z is using my social proximity, and who knows who I want to know. And I noticed you're connected to one or two people. I don't even give the name. A couple of people on LinkedIn that I'm going to be reaching out to in the next couple of days. Before I do, can I quickly run these names by you and get your thoughts? So that's the first level of permission. If you respond to that, now we could go in two paths. They could say, sure, who is it? Or I could say, would you have 5 minutes for a quick phone call and I could talk through some of these names? Or I could send the names. But when I send the names, I'll say, Bob, thank you so much. Here are the 4 people you're connected to that I'm going to be reaching out to. This is why. This is the value I can bring for them. I'm curious, how well do you know them? 2, they get back with 2. These 2, these are great. They'd be great. Also, when I reach out, should I tell them you said hello? Yes, that's slower. I
Yes.
get it. But you're coming in with a much higher level of credibility. You're coming in with incredible value, right? Because your shared connection said that you should talk. So here's the message. Bob, Stan, and I were chatting on LinkedIn the other day. I had mentioned X, Y, and Z. He thought I should reach out. By the way, he says hello. Let's connect and I can fill you in. If you want to go one step further with permission, if you'd like to learn a little bit about what we were discussing, let's connect and I'm happy to loop you in. Or, and this is all permission based, I'd love to connect and share what we were chatting about. Feel free to visit my profile. And if you think it makes sense, let's connect. All of that is giving and a lot of sales trainers will argue with this because it's giving the power back to them.
Mm-hmm.
And most sales trainers will say you have to keep the power, But when someone feels too early in the process that you are trying to control the conversation, they will often reject that conversation. But if you're giving them power to make a decision, they're much more likely to want to have that conversation.
Mhm.
Okay, that was my
Good.
rant.
Could not agree more, especially 'cause, this will get us into our 3rd point, and actually, Bruce Kirk has a perfect
I
way to
love
get us there.
her.
People are more willing to buy from someone who has given value, especially when that value is given with permission. So, could not agree with that more. It's all about giving value, and what is probably besides cold calling, the least valuable way of conversing with someone is through automation, because you ain't even there. It's the automation doing it for you. How do you think it feels to get automation? In fact, Bryn has a really good story about that that I may have to remind her of because it's been a
Yes.
while since
I have a lot. Which one are you
Yeah.
thinking about?
Oh, yeah, definitely. So, automation has all kinds of pitfalls. It might be tempting to let the tools handle it, but it's a really, really perilous path because it's automated. Everyone knows when they're being automated to, for lack of a better phrase. They know it's not you. We're trying to build relationships. We're trying to build value. And while you may be able to send, like links and things like that that have value in them, value also comes from just being present, I believe. And with automation, you are not present. Add into that the fact that LinkedIn hates automation. It's against their user agreement. You can get kicked off because you use automation and all that stuff. It should be just a non-starter. But at the same time, it's not a non-starter for a lot of people because I continue to get messages. I know that Bryn continues to get messages. So genuine messages sent from you stand out because people can get the authentic you from those messages. So,
Was there a
Bryn, do
particular
you
yeah,
I'm sorry?
was there a particular situation I talked about that you're referring
Yeah,
to?
there was one where you were going back and forth with automation, and then later on in the conversation, the guy comes and says, "Okay, now you've really got me."
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have a few. But that one, first of all, the automation seemed pretty good, which was even worse,
Yeah.
right? Like in the beginning. So there was back and forth in a conversation where I had a little bit of interest, but maybe the third or fourth in, I said something and the automation was off. So it didn't understand what I said. So I said, "Is this automation?" And then the guy came in, he goes, "Yeah, it was, but now you've got me." And I had absolutely no interest at all now in working with someone. He started it off with a lie.
Yep.
And that's how I felt. Like it started off with a lie. Now, do I love AI? I love chatbots. I love all of that stuff as long as it's clear. Like if I go to a
Yeah.
website and now I'm having a conversation, I don't want the picture of a human being to come up and pretend that it's a person. But if it's Social Sales Link's chatbot, I'm happy to have a conversation knowing in all transparency that I'm talking to AI. Thrilled at that. Don't lie to me. And that's what I feel like automation is. Here's another situation. Someone in our industry, in the sales training industry anyway, that I had interviewed for our
Mm.
podcast, spent a half hour with him. We had great rapport. I really liked him. We're in a couple of groups together. And then within a couple of weeks, I get a message that says, It's been a while since we last connected, and I'd love to catch up and find out what you're up to and share what I'm up to. So I said, jokingly, your sense of timing is interesting. It's only been about 2 weeks. And then I winked. And then it said, I'm so glad you're interested in talking. Here's a link to my calendar. Lost all credibility. All credibility. So I know we're talking about permission based, but this is important when we're talking about permission based, is really about showing up authentically. I know that word is now overused, but with full transparency. And so automation is a no go.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so
Absolutely.
it's giving power to the prospect, yes, but more importantly, it's about honoring the decision-making abilities of your. I love that. So the
Yeah.
Bruce Kirk, I love that. So going back to what I had said earlier, you're handing power back to them, but you're honoring the decision-making rights or abilities of your buyer. Love that so much. So let's just go back to the permission based as we start to close this out a little bit.
Yep.
Um, it is about respecting the inbox. It is about giving them choices versus pushing it in, right? The push. I, I think especially in LinkedIn, it is so important to be transparent and authentic. But also, I'm going to go back to slow down that outreach because it will speed up the outcome. You will build stronger relationships. They will be trust based conversations. And at the end of the day, you are going to have significantly more success by slowing it down.
I could not think of a better way to wrap up this episode of Making Sales Social Live, sponsored by AskSSL.ai. If you're with us live on LinkedIn or YouTube right now, we do this every week, so keep an eye out for our live sessions. And yes, the book, Prompt Writing Made Easy, using the Crispy framework, available on Amazon. It was a number one new release in a couple of different categories when it first came out, and we would love to see you have a copy of it to take your prompting to the next level. So if you're listening to us on our podcast right now and you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and hit that subscribe or follow button to access all of our previous shows and be alerted when new ones drop. And, like and comment. We love those as well. If you'd like more info on our podcast, socialsaleslink.com/podcast is where you want to be. And if you're out and about this week and every week, be sure that you're using permission based messaging, permission based sales, and be sure that your sales are
Social?
social. Exactly. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it. Sandy, any chance we can get a copy of today's session? Once this ends, it will then respool up like right on LinkedIn and you can watch it at that point. So thank you very much. Have a great day.
Bye, guys.